It is the 10th year anniversary of the Mitt TV. We are here in the Mitt TV podcast studio. This alone has been here for just over a year. I've been utilizing it. And the first thing I have to ask you is, how does it feel knowing it's been a decade? That's a big word.
I know.
Is a decade.
It's crazy. I can't, I just kind of figured that out. It kind of woke up and went, oh, wow, it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
It feels like two long
Right.
ones.
Right. Is that a good thing? Well, long years? Yeah, I guess. A lot of work.
Couple good long
Because there's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot more work in the beginning.
Well, tell everybody how you got the Mitt TV rolling. Like, what was the genesis of the Mitt TV and how did it get to where it is today?
You got some more bourbon and a few more days?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Give us the spark notes.
Yeah.
Give us the spark
Give you
notes.
the short notes. Basically, I was working out in the community. I was, I'm from here. I came back to the community to kind of give back. And I was doing some fundraisers and stuff at my house. And I had this relationship with WBRW, who was filming them at the time, which was the only TV station around. And so they asked me to get involved because I knew the community. And then so I started leading that kind of division at WBRW, and then became the executive director and then the head of the board for Michigan Community Media, because they needed somebody within the board and WBRW that was actually living in the community and knew the community and the schools and all that. And at the same time, I was working with the academy concept that was just new.
At Romeo Community Schools, yeah.
Romeo Community Schools Academy, that's incredibly successful program now. But that was in its infant stages. So I was working with a lot of people in the community, and we kind of had a turn of events where a politician came in and kind of wanted the station to just be Washington Township. So it kind of opened the door for, I don't know, a new mousetrap.
Right, yeah.
And so I've always been interested in technology and, how it changes the way we communicate. And it was way back, 10 years ago.
Right.
We didn't have anything that we have now.
Yeah.
We didn't have live streaming. We didn't have the technology that we use here today.
Yeah. What's been like the biggest leap that you think you've seen if you had to discern 10 years ago to now?
Live streaming, where, the whole concept was that we were going to have cable for the rest of our lives.
Right.
We were all going to be stuck with Comcast, which was a monopoly.
Yeah.
And, as soon as like Roku came on, the, internet distribution came on, it was kind of like a new segment of the broadcasting world.
Yeah.
Because broadcasting was, you remember, just from coming here, the equipment we used to have, the cables, everything, the men we used to have.
It's a lot more streamlined now.
Right. And you never thought that it would change, or at least no one else did, because they told me I was a liar, I was a witch. I didn't know
told you you were a witch?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was trying to lie to everybody. That wasn't the future.
Right.
We were always going to be cable. And the facts are is that nothing, everything changes, everything grows.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of even filming with an iPhone was like, oh, come on, that's scrappy.
Not
that's
a lot of people
so
do it.
amateur. And
Right.
now you see, the major reporters on the streets with their iPhones,
Right.
with no equipment, with no two cameramen in front of them,
Yeah.
behind them.
Right.
So that was like, I think the biggest change was the keeping up with the technology
Yeah.
and using it.
Was there ever a moment, whether it was with technology or people, in the sort of evolution across the 10 years where you were sort of apprehensive about a change, even yourself, even though you were like, you know what, I think this is good, I think this is good? Was there ever one thing where you're like, I don't know about this?
No.
No?
No.
Yeah?
Because I've always been interested in technology. I worked for IBM for 16 years and dabbled in, AI, dabbled in all of that you now see now, because we all know what's the next 10 years is. is
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
You know, and you start to see those influences as small as they were, but you
Right.
start to see those influences on how we communicate and how we watch.
Yeah, I mean, we use, well, technically, whoever's listening or watching right now, you're listening to AI
Right.
because we use an AI tool
Yep.
to eliminate any and all background noise to just be able to discern voices and everything, which it's a really cool thing because I remember, I mean, 10 years ago, I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And I was in the video production class, and I remember a lot of the tools that we had at the time, and it was still, I mean, we use Final Cut Pro editing software here, but I mean, 10 years ago, there were certain tools that you just didn't have where, I mean, if you go out and you get crappy audio, it's kind of crappy audio. But today,
Right.
I mean, if if a truck, when sirens was to drive past here, you could essentially eliminate it with a click of a button just because AI knows how to discern the two.
Right. And
know?
back then it would be take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5.
Yeah.
You know, time consuming, money, everything. And nobody really believed that the iPhone was going to become a computer.
Right.
You know, it's not a computer, it's a phone. No, it's a computer.
Yeah.
And your generation and all the generations below you, they don't watch TV. You know, they
No,
watch
they don't.
their phones.
Yeah.
They're all probably listening to this by their phone.
Yeah, there's a good chance.
Yeah.
There's a really good chance. And it's honestly been one of the cool things about moving a lot of our stuff over to YouTube and everything. Because when we do go to the high school and we are at some of those almost like job fair like seminars.
Yeah.
And the kids will ask
our
us.
interns.
Yeah, we'll find our interns, find Riley, find Paige, and that's where we find so many people. And they're very quick to be able to look up our stuff right then and there because it's all on YouTube and they kind of know it like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
It's pretty much second nature at this point.
Yeah, and it's like if you're stuck and you think that everything is never going to change, you're going to be left behind. And if you don't bring the young people in, you're going to be left behind because I mean there are things that you've taught me and showed me, that I had no idea that was popular. And I mean even you and I within the few years that you and I have worked together, we've seen the attention span shrink to almost zero, to TikTok size.
Yeah.
It's now TikTok size. So it changes what we do, how we communicate, how we broadcast. I mean, people were telling me that there was no way we could live stream, Romeo's football game and play it in the bars and on people's phones so people could watch it. And, that's just not going to happen. Well, yeah, it already is happening with internet distribution. Just get on board. And so that didn't make a lot of friends.
No, it didn't.
But
that's
it was
okay.
good for the community.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's a big attribute that you have is you're essentially thinking about your audience as opposed to the fellow proprietors.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so when you started the Mitt TV, before we started rolling, we had touched on privately ourselves just some of the community-based things that you had done yourself, and maybe even utilizing the Mitt TV to help certain aspects of the community. Like, what are some of those things that you've been able to lend a service to in the community?
Well, I think it's hard for a lot of the community that aren't really tight with us to understand exactly what the Mitt TV is and was.
When you say tight, do you mean like knowledgeable?
Yeah.
Aware?
Okay. Or working with us and
I thought you meant like people who don't hate us or something like that. That's what I thought.
Oh yeah, those two.
Those two.
They love us.
Everybody loves us.
The community loves us.
Yeah. That's why I asked who's not tight with us.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's difficult sometimes throughout the years for people to understand, like, what are we doing here? How are we funded? How are we making money? And a lot of people didn't understand that this was opened as a philanthropic nonprofit for the community. Because I wanted to come back and kind of bring a positive media source to our village, our tri-community, Washington, Bruce, and Romeo. And there were a lot of politicians out there, and we had a raunchy newspaper, and we didn't have really any positive way of communicating with our public.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so easy if you thought about it, how you could do it. But it was partially funded at that time by also the contracts that we do to make sure that everybody can watch, the board of trustee meetings, the ZBA meetings, the
Any live
planning,
stream.
yeah,
Yeah.
anything that was happening. Because a lot of people don't have time to, run around, go into the office and, 7 o'clock. They want to be home watching Netflix and eating TV or
Right.
eating TV dinners. But it was originally done that way, where it was partially funded by our commitment and our contracts with Bruce and Romeo, but our largest audience was Washington Township.
Mm-hmm.
So, we said, we're not going to leave Washington Township out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because all of our kids all go to the same high school,
Mm-hmm.
we've always been this tri-community. So, when I came on the scene, that was my big priority, to keep the three tri-communities together. Washington Township didn't have much really programming because there wasn't very many gathering centers or venues, in Washington Township. And now it's grown, incredibly. But the village and Bruce Township are mostly the gathering places. So to create programming to fill our station, we need to include everybody, and Elmont and Armada and everything that's going on in all the other schools. So I thought the first way I would do it was to bring the communities together.
Yeah.
Physically. And I've always been interested in health. I've always been interested in RFK Jr. He's like one of my heroes.
Yeah.
And I think I'm most proud of that very first initiative that we did. I basically met with all of the restaurants, asked them if they would be willing to change or add 3 items on their menu that were plant-based. And then I went to a few doctor friends of mine. Dr. Joel Kahn came in. He brought in a ton of experts. We opened the doors of the Masonic Temple, and we invited over 100 people to join us for 90 days, where we would meet and we would support one another, and we would go to these restaurants and have lunch and dinner to where they could learn plant-based food and ways of eating and living in order to do 3 things: lower their cholesterol, lower their blood pressure, and pretty much erase diabetes. Pre-diabetics came in. Most of the people were pre-diabetics. They were all on pharmaceuticals, which now we're really hearing a lot more about. The dangers of statins, the high blood pressure medicine, and all that. And so they came. We opened up the Masonic Temple for 30 days, had speakers there, and had 81 people sign up for this program.
And what was this initiative or program called?
It was plant-based for your life.
Okay.
And 81 people ended up signing up. It was free.
Yeah.
The doctors and the specialists all came in, real blood tests,
Right.
everything, insulin testing, everything. And in 90 days, out of the 81 people, some fell off. It's hard to stay with a 90-day program for anybody.
Right.
We had over 30 people completely get off of their diabetic medicine and high blood pressure medicine, got off statins, all from low impact exercise and diet. And we did that here in this little tiny town. Romeo,
Right.
they all came from Bruce, Washington, Romeo, Rochester, and it was like the coolest thing, and it brought everybody together, and it got them to know who the Mitt TV was.
Right.
And
were you covering it?
Yeah.
back then? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep. Yeah. We had tons of doctors come in.
Hmm.
We had probably 30 different videos on all different subjects of
Right.
getting off of the pharmaceutical drugs.
Hmm.
And it was probably one of the most rewarding things I did.
Yeah.
And I did it to attract people. I did it to attract the community.
Right.
And I always had that love for health and not pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So, and then it kind of grew from there.
Hmm.
We got a big relationship with all the restaurants that we worked with
Yeah.
and all the different groups that brought in people, the Kiwanis,
Hmm.
all of those guys ended up getting involved in it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how we sowed our seeds.
Yeah. And in utilizing, the Mitt TV as a tool, is there any particular, whether it's a particular person or organization that stands out that you genuinely feel that the Mitt TV has been able to help in a substantial?
Yeah. The number one,
Yeah.
I would say the Smarin House.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the Smarin House. Number two, Kiwanis.
Right.
They were very underrepresented represented in the community.
How was it before?
Nothing.
And no one just knew what the Samaritan House was?
Yeah, people that used the services and stuff, but to know who's there, to know the different programs that they're doing, you gotta have some way besides a flat piece of paper, a flyer, that's going to go across somewhere, to understand who the people are, what their motivation is, what their programs are,
Hmm.
and that all costs money.
Yeah.
And since we were willing to do it for free, everybody came.
Right.
They're like, "Can you help us? Can you
Right.
help us?"
Yeah.
So those and a lot of the churches, we helped a lot of churches,
Hmm.
a lot of organizations that didn't have a voice, didn't have the money. So that might be my number two.
Right.
Most proud of is helping those organizations get their word out, helping them
Right.
grow, and being involved.
Right.
We're not just check writers. We're, boots on the ground workers.
For sure.
And everybody that came in these doors that worked for the Mitt TV
Hmm.
were, of like attitudes.
For sure.
So I think if I have to say it myself, I think we've done a goddamn good job.
Tremendous job. Job well done.
Yeah.
And, right now it's the 10-year anniversary, but
Yeah.
5-year anniversary, that was COVID.
Yeah.
So, what was COVID era like for Mitt TV, and how were you able to do your part in the community?
I think that it was one of the times where we were really needed,
Yeah.
and that everybody came together
Hmm.
because we were all, secluded from one another.
Hmm.
We were all inside watching,
Right.
Luckily we all had internet and TV,
Sure. Sure.
and DoorDash.
Yeah.
And, everybody felt isolated.
Hmm.
So we really targeted our marketing at that point to keeping our community like solid. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of help. There was a lot of things that needed to be done at that time
Hmm.
because there was people that, needed to be fed. They couldn't get out. A lot of small organizations within our 3, 4, 5 communities all came together. I mean, you're part of the community.
Yeah.
You saw
Hmm.
how everybody came together.
Hmm.
So we were working with everybody and, not only writing checks to help people, but, gathering foods and making sure everybody knew what was going on and how to
Right.
get a hold of everybody. And the Mitt kind of, was like a central hub for that at that time.
And how did you guys go about covering things in the community? Like, for example, you have your Village of Romeo board
Yeah.
meetings that take place in one area a couple times during the month, but obviously COVID tells everybody to stay home.
Right.
You have sports, we cover a lot contact sports. No one could play contact sports, so what was your
Out of math
programming?
heaven.
Yeah, what was your programming like during that time?
Well, one, it was hard to put a mask on and talk.
Right.
We all had to have masks on. We did a lot of our meetings at that time Zoomed.
Right.
So everybody was into Zoom then, but it was very difficult because, to have a meeting, to have, participation. And that's when we came up with the audience participation and added that to our programming, our live streaming, because like in Romeo, for example, there was that wall, that glass wall between our guys, our broadcasters, and them. Even when they started to be able to meet again, we didn't have the ability as a community to meet and listen to the meeting and discuss. So at that time, we added to our broadcasting, the ability for the community to chat online, to blog with each other online and have open discussions.
Right.
Because people were scared. They didn't know what was going on. I mean, basically we were told, yeah, you're going to be inside for about 2 weeks.
Nope.
Nope. And then like every month it was, okay, this is done. Nope. We're mandated.
Right.
And threatened. And I mean, it was a serious situation. And we as a kind of a community leader had to take everything very seriously. Because if you didn't, you'd be eaten alive on social media, because there was a bunch of ornery, unhappy people behind those computers, that had all data.
Yeah.
So we had to be really careful, and our guys had to be careful. We tried to not have very many things in the studio at all. And then we had our special, sprayers, disinfecting, cleaning constantly. So we did the best we could, but
still alive.
Yeah, our guys were exposed out there just to try to bring some things, together.
For sure.
So that was a scary time. And then after that, we really worked hard at putting things together where people could gather. And, that's where I really started getting connected to the need for parks, the need for gathering. And, that's when we got, involved in the next initiative to restore the village park, because there were so many new families and, ladies with 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds and that had been in the house, for a long time.
Yeah.
So, then we started really working, with the schools and all that to, get people together, get them talking, get them out, get them free again. And always a positive message, because there was a lot of fear back then. People were easily, drawn into fear. So I think I was very proud of how we all did during that time.
Yeah. And that was 2020, and then 2021 was the year I had met you. And the park was the first initiative that I was really exposed to, because I was right around the same time. And what was that experience like, getting that park done and renovated and then seeing the final product? Because now I want to say in 2020, either 2 or 3, was it 2023 when it was completely done?
Yeah, it was a total of 18 months from conception to talking the village and everybody that was involved in it, about getting involved in it, getting it approved and all that, and then getting all the contractors to do the work. The design took a while, but for 18 months, it's pretty record breaking time-wise.
Pretty quick. Good turnaround. And you've in 2020, no, it wasn't. But in 2023, by the time that summer rolled around, like I remembered the summer concert series, music in the park, and then obviously Christmas rolls around. They had the Santa parade that now ends there, and it's so wide open, and everybody's able to kind of congregate and hang out. There's been a lot of cool stuff that I've been able to see firsthand that's just changed in the community. And so, but what is it like when you either drive by or you're sort of you're sort of involved at these events and you're seeing
Yeah.
everybody
I
hang
think
out.
my favorite thing is when our drone pilot Larry
Yeah.
Fortran gets those aerial views of
Hmm.
the band and all of the students for homecoming parade.
Hmm.
I love to see that, and at Christmas, you
Yeah.
know, all of the parade trucks and the bands and everything, and they just flow right into the park and fill it.
Right.
And you used to not be able to do that.
For
You
sure.
know, there was no music, there's no sound. You couldn't, you just had this little rotted gazebo that had been there since I was in, high school.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just, I still go back to old men plant trees where they know that they'll never sit under the shade of that tree.
For sure. Yeah.
So, I want to be able to go there when I'm 80, 90 years old, sit
Hmm.
in that park and go, yeah, this was a good thing,
Yeah.
you know?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's
Change
awesome.
is hard. Change is
It
hard
is.
for a small town, and you just have to power through because you
Hmm.
know it's a positive thing for people.
Right.
And, we love this community and we're going to do the best for it.
Yeah. And around that time frame, 2023, that's where we sort of talked about starting to do podcasting. You had graciously let me and my film crew film a movie in here the
Yeah.
summer prior. And then after that, we had talked, and I said, I think it'd be really cool if we did a podcast studio. So everything behind you, for anybody watching, anything behind Ruth was all green. It was all green screen.
It was.
And then we painted it,
Oh,
threw up
yeah.
curtains. And I can remember filming I believe it was the 2023
Oh,
graduation ceremony, coming back and putting up this TV as soon as we were done, because I had some helpers to help me put it up.
yeah.
So there was a lot of moving parts just in that time frame
Yeah.
alone.
Yep.
And then here you are now. There's been a couple changes and everything. Like I want to say this whole thing, this back wall used to probably be where this table is.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you're like, I think we gotta open it up a
Yeah.
little bit.
We're
know?
always keeping up with what we need,
Mhm.
And right before you came, which was COVID, we had this painted
Mhm.
with that green because we did the Kiwanuses had this huge fundraiser
Yep.
where they'd have the kids from the high school, the young kids,
Yep.
do a talent
The talent show.
a talent show. So we literally, and it was COVID, so everybody had to be in different rooms. So we created like 4 different studios, and 2 different studios out in the foyer.
Mhm.
Painted everything green so we could green screen everything,
Yeah.
and we just left it.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
used it.
you were able to use it for a few more things afterwards,
Yeah.
And then now I think it's pretty streamlined where, we have people reach out all the time saying, hey, we have an event coming up. We got to do this. We got to do that. Or they just want to talk about something. They can come in anytime they want,
Yeah.
and we'll work with them and we'll film it for them and publish it. And they're in and out pretty
Right.
quick,
Yeah. Yep. We still do everything we do for free, for the community. And we've really streamlined what we do and how we do it since you came on board. You came in with some fresh new ideas, and us old people, we don't like watch things the way you guys watch. We don't, sometimes we're not in touch as cool as we think we are. Or sometimes we're not in touch. And, you came to me with a couple different business ideas, walked in the door and said, I think I could do this. And, I was getting tired.
Yeah.
I was getting tired doing it by myself. So, when you started suggesting some of the new technology and the new ideas, I'm like, oh man, I don't know, is this town gonna, accept this? And I think the major one was how we film the sports,
Yeah.
because we would kind of take on the club sports that nobody else was supporting, that didn't have some of the school money to support. We would support them as sponsors, and then we would go out in the field, with our live crew,
Yeah.
2 or 3 different broadcasters, live broadcasters, and, film it for people to be home, grandparents, parents, everybody to watch. And it was really costly.
Yeah.
Ask me.
Yeah.
It was really costly.
Right.
And, you pretty much came up with the idea, of the future. And the future was podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
where you, I mean, you now are seeing the same transition from cable to live streaming, to just pure internet distribution,
Mm-hmm.
to where most people aren't watching the
Yeah,
TV.
for sure.
They're listening to podcasts on their way home and on their
Mm-hmm.
way to work, and they're watching it, because we offer both video podcasting, and, Spotify and all that. But people, especially from COVID on, and the way our political situation has been on the national level,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people aren't watching that anymore. They're
Mm.
not watching the mainstream media,
Yeah.
especially around here. And they want to get their news from podcasts because podcasts are more direct. They're in person, they're more
Mm-hmm.
casual, they're less scripted,
Yeah,
and you're really getting to know the people.
for sure.
Not just somebody. And for the people that we do things for, it's a lot easier, I think, because,
Yeah.
like we do, the weekly podcasts for our district, Todd Robinson and his crew.
Yep, keeping
They're
up with
all
our community.
here,
Yep.
yeah, every week.
Mm-hmm.
We do the chamber here every week. You know, everybody has said the same thing to me, is that they're a lot more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
because they're not having to look at a camera or even read a teleprompter,
Yeah.
and it's not as scary.
Yeah, they're just talking amongst themselves at
Right.
the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the podcast was a cool thing, especially looking at it from the point of view of sports. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
kind of everybody wants to get covered. Everybody
Right.
wants their time in the spotlight. But I mean, when
Mhm.
you're, there's only so much you could do, especially when you have volleyball and football playing at the same exact time.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
We had a lot of crews out there
Yeah.
at one time.
right, and so just being able to, maybe offer as an alternative,
Mhm.
and being able to get to know these kids on a more personal level.
Yeah.
The podcast is a pretty good thing because we've been able to talk to the bowling team.
Yeah.
We've talked to an equestrian.
Yeah.
Um,
The dance team.
yeah,
We've been able to bring
everybody.
all these that don't usually
Mhm.
get any airtime.
For sure. For
And
sure.
I think the way that we're even doing some of the sports, where we have a camera there,
Mhm.
filming it, and then we bring the highlights in,
Mhm.
and we bring the coach and two or three of the highlight kind of players,
Mhm.
and they get a chance to talk about,
Right.
themselves. And, with Tim being the broadcaster,
Mhm.
it gets the whole story across more clearly
Yeah.
than asking most of the people to watch that whole game,
For sure.
because no one wants to watch a whole game unless you're a parent
For sure. Yeah.
or a grandparent.
Yeah, those that's definitely the main demographic when
Yeah.
you're broadcasting sports. So I mean that's where we're at right now. And what do you see the future of your company being? Now that you're reflecting on a decade, and
Yeah.
there's only way to go forward. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You've done good.
Yeah. Over the 10 years, the Mitt TV has evolved,
Hmm.
almost yearly,
Hmm.
not only with the technology, but the different people that we've had, come in. I mean, we've had extraordinary interns,
Hmm.
come in and out of our business and then go on to actually work and make money
Hmm.
doing
For sure.
this,
Yeah.
and that has been really rewarding. Um, if I were to talk about it, I think I would label it the legacy, because you came in two and a half years ago, 2 years.
2021, so 4
2021.
almost.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
jeez, time goes. Listen to the old people telling you time's going to go by
Yeah.
fast. It goes by so fast.
Hmm.
The way you've taken over, I never thought that was going to happen. I never knew that I was going to really meet somebody that had the moral fortitude that you have, the work ethic that you have, the talent that you have,
Well, thank you.
that I was never going to be able to turn it over to anybody. It's like a baby,
Right.
Don't drop the baby.
Yeah, for sure.
So it takes a while. It takes a while. And you and I have been working together, for that long. And, I could walk away today, move to Tahiti, and
Doesn't sound like a bad plan. Doesn't sound like a bad plan.
yeah,
Doesn't sound like a
it
bad
is.
plan.
It isn't a bad plan. I have been at this for a while, and I actually had that in mind, at least putting in 10 years to this.
And then Tahiti.
No, and then Tahiti.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bora Bora somewhere. But I really wanted to see if it was possible. I wanted to see if it was possible to bring people together, get them connected to new technology, even though it was a small community, that wasn't pretty, computer literate or whatever, and bring the stories that we've been able to bring. The Mitt magazine that started in 2016 has really come a long ways.
Yeah.
Jerry Fryman, I mean, I can't say more. I can't say enough about the people that work here,
Right.
I always leave, I leave a fundraiser or wherever I'm talking about our crew, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to talk about,
There's just a lot. It's a
Larry
lot.
and
Yeah.
you and Lucas and Ben and our amazing interns. Riley, she's producing the,
Riley's producing this. Yeah.
and that's what makes me happy. That's that's been the real rewards, is seeing that kind of thing. And the magazine was just an idea I had because there wasn't any really good positive periodical for the businesses to put ads in. And in a small community, we don't have a lot of money for ads, and we don't have a lot of avenues. So I thought, there's so many people, there's so many stories, there's so many heroes.
Yeah.
And I really thought that I would run out of people. I would run out of the 100-year-old people.
Yeah.
I would run out of, the sports people and
But
the
you kept it going.
teachers. And yeah, they just come. They just keep on coming. I mean,
Build it, they will come.
yeah. I mean, we're putting together our 2026 edition, and it's full.
Right.
And then we have our online version, that we've started to just do, every Sunday articles. And, I mean, we just did one for the wrestler, the young lady, the young girl at RHS, that won. She's like, we're going to see her in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And we had to have a story on her so everybody can, know her.
Sure.
And tons of people picked that article up and read it. And, you're not always going to get people to watch a video because of our attention spans.
Right.
We're like, oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, I gotta do laundry. But short articles, and sometimes they're long just because they have to be, because they're such spectacular people. Like we just did one on Cindy Wilson, at the village offices that has been here for so long.
Yeah.
Such a wonderful person. We had to cut it and trim it and trim it. There was so much to say about her, and so many other people that wanted to talk about her. But that's been really rewarding because that really has gone to everyone's mailboxes, every year.
Yeah.
And brings people in and excites people about the people they live around. Because sometimes you can live in a place, I mean, how well do you know your neighbors?
Not all that well.
Yeah.
I take out the trash and that's about it.
You wave to them if their dog goes in your yard or whatever, and that's it. So people are always telling me how astonished they are that we have these incredible people in this community. And I think that's probably working with Jerry Fryman. He knows everybody. He's, a longtime resident. And if I don't know him, Jerry knows him.
Right.
And I think that's probably one of the most rewarding things that I can take away from this as I retire to Tahiti.
Yeah. If philanthropy was your goal, I think you've met it, and I think you've long met it. It's honestly just rinse and repeat for you at this point, because whether it's stuff you do here directly or almost indirectly, whether it's covering a student at the school in a magazine, I think that it's it's not even necessarily for a wider audience as much as it is for that singular person, who's going to see themselves in a magazine.
Yeah.
And because everybody likes seeing themselves
Yeah.
in some sort of spotlight in some way, shape, or form. And
Yeah.
so you've directly or indirectly touched a lot of people. I can say this firsthand is thank you very much for the opportunities. And I'm sure I could speak on the behalf of everybody else who's come in and out of these doors is, thank you just as much, for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And, is there anything you want to leave anybody with, as you, again, reflect on 10 years of service to your community?
Yeah. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up on an idea and a dream. And, I mean, I had a dream back when I was, homeless. As you know, I didn't have a place to live when I was in high school. And I used to go to the park and I used to sleep in that gazebo, before I went to work at the pizza place next to Younger's now, And I thought to myself, if I ever made it, I want to come back. I want to come back to Romeo and I want to do good things.
Right.
Because I loved it here. It was my family. Everything about it felt like home to me.
Right.
So coming back to it, and a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people say, I wish I had the ability to give back. I wish I had the time. There's so many small ways that you can do that. You can help the Samaritan House. I started off, 18 years ago, picking up bagels from a bagel shop in the morning to take to Samaritan House. It didn't take anything but gas to get there.
Right.
Now we have social media. You can reach out to us. You can tell us, a person that a hero in your life. You can do something. Just do it. Just do it. Don't talk about it. Don't go out there and complain about what everybody else is doing. Get up off your ass and do it.
Sure.
And we never do anything. I always tell you, because you often ask me that question, and I say my rule is, once it leaves your hands, that intention leaves your hands. That is your intention. Your intention is to give. No matter what happens, no matter whether that person takes it and grows with it, it benefits it, whatever, an organization, that was your intent. And in life, if I could give anybody any advice, resilience is much more applicable in your life than strength. Because you just keep on getting up, putting your foot forward, till that idea that's in your head comes to fruition. And if it takes going out and asking people and driving them into the idea and saying, this is going to work, come with me, or it's just helping shoveling somebody's, driveway in your community. When you get as old as I am, you can look back and go, yeah, I did a good job here. I did a good job here.
Yeah.
And that's,
you did do a good job.
Yeah, because we all do it because we want to look at things that we love and we appreciate. We do it for ourselves.
For sure.
We want to feel good about what we do. And that's easy. It's easy.
Right.
It's a lot of work. This has been a lot of work. Alone, it's been a lot of work. And I so appreciate you. We got a love fest going on here because we just have a tremendous amount of respect for one another. And to bring somebody in and hand my baby to him is, I can't say enough. And I know I say it all the time.
No, I appreciate you, Ruth.
Yeah, I appreciate you too.
Absolutely. Everybody, we all appreciate you. And like I said, you've helped people directly and indirectly. And if being a philanthropist was your goal, you've hit the mark. You've definitely hit the mark because there's been a lot of people that have benefited off of your generosity, especially in this community alone. And I think your legacy is sound and secure. I think you've left a really positive mark on this community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else you want to leave anybody with? Resilience, Tahiti.
Resilience, and seriously, I mean, you're taking over the reins. You have been taking over the reins, seriously for at least the last 2 years in every aspect. I am still out in the community and helping and all that, but I can't wait to see what you do because technology changes,
Yep,
and it might not look like this at all in 5 years.
for sure.
I mean, storefronts, studios, they're almost non-existent now.
Right.
So, I can't wait to see what you end up doing with it.
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what happens.
You've done a really good job so far.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. No, we're all excited to see what happens, and we're here for the ride. We're gonna enjoy the ride.
Yep.
Awesome,
That's all
Ruth.
it is.
Thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.